This is not retro night, everyone. We are not stuck in the 80s, or are we?
This dude is.
We are listening to an 80s alternative mix. Who's we? That would be me, W, aka William, and I am here with Mr. DJ, as I call him, Mr. Stalwart, Jake Rudh from Minneapolis, host of Transmission, Twitch, and I will say to everyone tonight, you are going to get part 2 of our conversation regarding his love for music, the 80s, his Twitch show, current Transmission, being back in clubs, and maybe a little bit of stories that he would like to share with us along the way. Jake Rudh, nice to reconnect. Cheers to you, my friend. How are you doing?
Cheers. I've got my lemon spindrift, feeling refreshed. I'm doing good. It's nice to chat with you again, William. Thanks for asking me to be back on.
Absolutely. And before we begin part 2 of our conversation, for those of you that are tuning in fact, I see on my screen here, Laura and Ty are here. Hello to Mr. Baseball and Mrs. Baseball, if I can call you that. Let us know where you're tuning in from. And if you have any questions for Jake, put them in the chat box, the comment box. We'll take them along the way. And here's what you can kind of expect tonight. Just 2 guys talking. And that's what we're going to do. Let's get started. What did you say, Jake?
It's a hang session.
It is. And we got some friends of yours here. Susie. Hey, Susie. Cindy Garcia. Vicky Lancaster. Of course, Jennifer's here. Hello, Jennifer. So, Jake, last time we spoke about a year and a half ago, we were still immersed in the pandemic. And I don't know if you saw my little write-up for this show, but I kind of likened you to Tim Burgess, and allow me to explain. I'm actually doing this event because of Tim Burgess when he started his listening parties. The minute I saw that Cocteau Twins one with Simon Raymond, I said, ooh, I'm going to do something like that, but on Facebook. Okay. That event during the pandemic brought the world together. It was incredible. Then, it's probably around October, I started following you on Twitch. And I started noticing, holy crap. He's starting to bring people together through your show and music, your videos, your wonderful commentary, and of course, Harry. So I'm going to ask you this question.
Harry's to my right. We'll make sure he gets in the camera.
Okay, I was going to say, is Harry going to make an appearance? But here's my question for you. Okay, so I know you're a very humble guy, and maybe you wouldn't compare yourself to Tim Burgess.
Oh, no. But I do have his sweatshirt behind me.
You have carried and you have brought together a community of people through music. And that's how I want to start. What's that feeling like?
I'm humbled and I'm extremely honored by that. I hear that a lot. I hear that from a lot of people who email me or message me or even tweet me just saying, thank you for what you do, because I've met new friends in my life. And as you get older, as you know, it's harder to meet friends, really, especially if you live in Minnesota. A lot of people stick to their high school and their college friends, and that's their world, and they don't let other people in close. But it seems like some real true bonds have been made through this Twitch channel, which really makes me feel so damn good. And it's not me, it's the music. We're all there because we love music. And I'm lucky because I get to play my favorite kind of music. And it just so happens that a lot of people also love that music. It's the music that we grew up with. If you watched MTV in 120 minutes, then, you're going to dig what I do. So,
but okay, I concur with those statements. However, as I got deeper into the Twitch and started becoming friends with actually people here
yeah,
who are making comments along the way, what I've always admired about the work that you do, you remember shit
mhm,
and you bring it back from show to show. And it's not to call people out and make people feel embarrassed in any manner, but you do it in a way that, again, gels the community and solidifies it and glues it. So, I know you have a strong memory for music. Do you have
and
a
that's
strong memory? Do you have a strong memory for other things, sports or anything like that? Or is it just rest on the shoulders of music?
yeah, you can talk to my wife about that. She gets a little bit ticked off that my memory is pretty shit, except for when it comes to music. I can remember the trivial little things about who produced an album or what year this album came out or the first time, I saw this person in concert. It's make a selective memory, and it's kind of sad. And I'm working on it, especially now that I've got a daughter in my life, because there is bigger priorities than just the world of music. I think my wife, unfortunately, has felt second fiddle to music at times, which is not cool. And I've certainly worked on that as well. But yeah, things change when you get a family. You mentioned that that this channel was created by me and all that, but I have to do a shout out right at the top of the show at the people that really truly make the channel what it is. And I say this each and every show, and it's the moderators and it's the chief engineer. And what do we call Carrie now? Oh, she's a first officer. Yeah, she's expecting, so she's no longer a moderator, but she's actually been promoted to first officer. So we've got Brian, we've got Carrie, we've got Christina, we've got Jody, we've got Jennifer, we've got Cindy, we've got Mike, and we've got Maria. And these are people literally all around the USA and Canada who pitch in to make this show what it is each and every week. I mean, it's mind-blowing. And it's, they can step off. I always throw out like, hey, if you're not having fun, and please, I don't want this to be a job, but they want to be a part of it. I mean, I can't speak for them, but at least that's what they tell me, or at least that's how I feel that they feel. And that just means a lot. We've built this community, and it's very much to do with them too.
I remember there were some specific Twitch shows were priceless, indelible moments. For example, when you were going through a very arduous period with regards to your mother.
Yeah.
And I believe in my heart that was also a catalyst for bringing people together because you were so raw and vulnerable.
Yeah.
There is that show that you took it to the next level and you played This Woman's Work by Kate Bush. And even though we couldn't see you weren't on the screen, and we couldn't see each other, you knew in that moment there wasn't a dry eye in that thread, that comment box.
Yeah.
And so you have that ability to be vulnerable. It's an entertaining show. But wouldn't you agree at that time your authenticity was helping unite the masses, the manatees?
Well, I've got a radio background, so I came up in radio, and there are things you're not supposed to do. You're not supposed to act this way, and you're not supposed to say these kind of things. And with Twitch, it's like it's kind of the Wild West out there, and it's a live broadcast, and I can say anything. And actually, my chief engineer Brian has said, I know you like to, imbibe depending on the night and the vibe and the theme, but, we should definitely try to keep it, a little bit more formal from time to time. And I think he's right. Sometimes I do I get a little too loose, and I like freaking every 5 words I'm like, you know, the Effenheimer, and so we have fun together, but it's also it can get real serious. And the show came about at a very serious time in the world, right? We were all in a pandemic, and it kicked off where we were all tied to our homes, and we were starved for entertainment. We couldn't go out and dance. We couldn't go out and see live music. We couldn't hang with friends or family. So this channel, for those who found it and who love music, kept people together. And so they really found this great bond within that community. And they're still hanging today, even though the world has opened back up, thank God. But yeah, you know, so we were going through heavy times together. And I wasn't shy about some of the personal stuff that was going on in my life, with the loss of my stepfather, who was like a father to me, and my mother, who was in a horrible accident that was this close to death, and you know, so I talked about that stuff.
I don't want to get too heavy-handed and just in the rearview mirror with the situation with your mom. I do want to ask 2 things. One, how is she doing?
She's doing great. She's back at home, living alone, assistance free. My daughter and I are going to go visit her on Saturday before I host my yacht rock gig. So it'll be
Nice.
good vibe. Yeah.
What is a gift that came about from that horrendous experience, other than this community coming together? It could be a personal gift, that's something intrinsically you gained from that very difficult experience.
I think sometimes you take people for granted, and just that they're always going to be there. You know, that as you get older, and those who still have parents, I'm one of the lucky ones that I've got both my parents. But as you get older, they get older, and the fragility starts showing. And I mean, both my dad just turned 77 yesterday. I wrote a little tribute to him on my Facebook page, and it was a picture from the very early 80s, hanging out at a Pizza Hut. Dad's got his Swisher Sweets in his pocket, where you can smoke in the restaurants and all that jazz. Yeah, it was crazy. But yeah, it's the not taking for granted what you have, because it's not going to be there forever.
Tell us some attributes you picked up along the way from mom and dad, or stepfather as well. What are some qualities, characteristic traits that you wouldn't mind sharing?
I got officially high cholesterol now from my dad.
Okay,
so,
thanks, Dad.
Yeah, big time. Actually, I just found that out yesterday. I had my physical, and I just got the results back yesterday, and I officially have high cholesterol. I'm like, what the fuck? Can you say that on this channel?
You can say whatever you want.
Yeah. So now I have to do some lifestyle changes. So yeah. Anyway, but that's heredity. I know you're talking about positives. I'm just like still in denial about that. So, well, these are also like right now your face is blurry, and like these things.
It's okay.
Yeah. These things only happened within the last year too. So it's all changing. And and my little boy Harry next to me, I mean, he's getting up there for dog years as well. He's gonna be turning 13. So
Dang.
yeah, that's up there in the dog years.
It is. So in terms of your mom, like where does that apple fall? Like where do you go, man, I definitely picked up on this from my mom.
Music. Well, both my parents love music, but my mom, I was raised by my mom in the Twin Cities here. My dad lives in a smaller town up northern Minnesota with my stepmom. He was more, Beach Boys, early Beach Boys, Del Shannon, Roy Orbison, Bobby Vinton, and then in the 70s he loved ABBA and the Bee Gees. And then I have to say that his taste is kind of, as he gets older, you know, then it's like starting to get more syrupy and sad. You know, he started to get into like he would put on like Kenny G, and he's like, "Isn't this beautiful?" And I'm like, "Oh, shit." Well, what's great about Kenny G is, like, you know, he's come full circle, right? He was so
Right.
syrupy. Like now he's like, he's embraced by the indie rock community, and it's weird how that works. But yeah. And my mom is the huge music fan. She loved, I mean, you know, it was Al Green and Marvin Gaye, Stevie Wonder, Bob Marley, Boz Scaggs, just a lot of great jazz, fusion, R&B, reggae. I, you know, and Fleetwood Mac, the 70s rock type of stuff, 70s singer-songwriter stuff, Laurel Canyon stuff. So she just loves music. She loves dancing. She loved going and seeing live music and all of that jazz. So I definitely got that from her. None of the Brit stuff, though. That's me diving straight into the fantasy world of the Beatles and Duran Duran and what it must be like living in England. And, you know, and I know that you have it too. You're a fellow Anglophile. And I still love England and the music that has come out of England.
So when was that seed planted for you in terms of, okay, now I'm starting to listen to my own music,
Yeah.
and I'm really gravitating towards it?
Yeah, the two big turning points are Duran Duran with Rio, you know, my first cassette, and, you know, having the posters on my bedroom wall, my uncle calling me Simon Le Bon. And what's great is they're still around today, and they're selling out arenas, and they're putting out great albums. I mean,
Crazy.
I love that my favorite band is still with us, and that they're still my favorite band 40 plus years later. And it was in junior high that the Beatles struck, and I can't remember what it was that, I mean, I always knew of the Beatles, and of course I knew the songs from just, you know, going to Chuck E. Cheese and the animatronics playing, yeah, 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 you know, shit like that. So you grew up with Beatles songs everywhere. But one day, I think it just clicked, and it was in junior high. And then that's all I listened to all the way through probably sophomore year of high school, was just 60s rock, mainly British Invasion, and anything and everything Beatles, like beyond obsessed.
Did you play any instruments?
I played the drums in a garage band, but, you know, we won Smells Like Teen Spirit in a talent contest, but that's as far as it went. So I guess I played Dave Grohl's role.
We can't find that on YouTube, can we?
No evidence of that.
Okay, so the Beatles, really, you're absorbing them. They're becoming just a major part of your life. You're starting in the 60s, all that stuff. So when do we start getting into it? So Duran Duran, 83. Was Duran Duran the key that unlocked all of that new wave, new romantic, all that stuff for you?
Two things. Yes, Duran Duran was, but WLOL was a radio station here in the Twin Cities that would play all of that material. What was great about pop music in the 80s is that they played everything right next to each other. You could have Tina Turner and Quiet Riot and Howard Jones, and, you know, so it was metal, it was R&B, it was soul, it was hip hop, and all of that was right next to each other in the top 40. And that's what you don't get that now. It's like, I mean, not a lot of people listen to the radio, top 40 radio anymore, but it's all very samey, and it's all like there's the top 5 producers that make everything kind of sound the same. And I hate to sound like that old curmudgeon-y dude, but it's kind of the way it is. You have to really dig. I mean, there's unbelievably great amounts of music out there. You just have to dig for it because, you know, the music, the radio stations aren't playing it, unless, of course, you are listening to a public-funded station, such as the Current. But and then MTV. MTV is what really opened my mind to to the British bands and to other bands from outside of the U.S. But mainly, it was the British new wave because they had Top of the Pops. They had programs that called for British artists to have promo videos made. And so when MTV came about in 1981, there was a lack of music videos for artists, for musicians, for bands. You know, like Journey had a couple, Styx had a couple, but mainly it was like Rod Stewart and then a whole bunch of British new wave bands. They came completely fully equipped with great promotional videos, and so MTV played them a lot, and so I just soaked those up big time, and that definitely was where it all began.
So when you hear something like this,
Chameleons.
the chameleon, yeah. So how did you start getting into that kind of scene? That scene.
The darker stuff.
Yeah.
So that is probably an easy answer, actually. My very first job was paper or plastic, bagging groceries at Lunds and Byerly's. But my second job was working at Musicland Northtown, and the store manager was huge into the British UK modern rock scene, and he made me loads of mixtapes, and that opened my mind to tons of music. He's definitely the one that would put a Chameleon song on a mixtape for me, and
is he aware of that influence he had on you?
I don't think so. And what's really, really sad is I can't even remember his name. That's what sucks. I wish I remember his name, because yeah, it would have been like '89, and I only worked for that store for about 6 months. So because then I got a job at a different record store, Tidal Wave Music and Video, but that guy made me like 6 or 7 mixtapes, and they probably are in a storage room somewhere still.
I was just going to ask you to have them lying around somewhere.
God, it makes me feel like shit that I can't remember his name though, because he did play such a huge influence. I would love to know if I could reach out to him and thank him. Yeah.
Maybe he'll show up on one of your shows.
Yeah. Another big influence right around that same time when I was working for that station, for that record store, a new radio station came out in the Twin Cities that opened my mind to this sound. And it completely went alongside with MTV's 120 Minutes, which came about in the late 80s and was going super strong into the early 90s. And so KJ 104 was my Bible in my ears every day. From the moment I woke up, I would listen to that station all the way to the time I went to bed. And it was the program director, I believe, was Kevin Cole, who is now works for KEXP. Yeah. And Kevin Cole worked at record stores in the Twin Cities, as well as he was one of the main club DJs at First Avenue. So, I mean, he's like one of my, he's a mentor and he doesn't even know it. Like, I've followed in his footsteps. He does
great work with KEXP.
Yeah, he's an amazing DJ. Huge, and such a nice guy. he was part of KJ 104, and when that went off the air, he started his own radio station called Rev 105, which is in the heart of a lot of Twin Cities folks who love music. Revolution Radio, and that I was an intern for them, hoping to get on air one day. But that was my first steps into the radio world.
So as you get deeper into the radio world, what is it about that world that was speaking to you?
It was the world that I grew up in, and radio was still like the thing, right? It was, and MTV was still around. They were a thing. Radio was still very much the thing. There was no social media. There were no streaming platforms. There was no internet, for God's sakes. When was the year that people really started using the internet? Was it like 95, 96?
I would even say a little later than that. Someone in the comment box, please let us know.
Yeah, maybe even later than
David
that.
Bowie knew it. Did you ever see that little clip of Bowie talking about the internet?
Oh yeah, David Bowie. That's right.
He had it all figured out, like everything else.
Yeah, like everything else. Yeah.
Did people come up to you and say, "Man, Jake, you've just had that voice"? A DJ voice. Do you remember people?
Not before getting into it. No, it wasn't until I got on the air that people would hear me and say, "You got a great radio voice," and I never knew that. I guess talking to girls on the phone in junior high or high school, like they'd say, "I really like your voice." So.
Jake, I didn't get that. So no, that never happened to me. I went to teaching. So what do you remember your first radio show?
Yeah, it was KFJM AM 1370 Grand Forks. It was that would have been in 1993, and so 30 years ago. Unbelievable. And it was a big band jazz and swing program, and so I hosted a big band and standards during the day, and then I did a jazz overnight show at night, and that blew up my world to the world of jazz, and I absolutely love jazz now. I mean, I really dug it growing up because my mom loved jazz too, but I would say, I mean, I'm a big fan of jazz, mainly West Coast, as I'm talking to the gentleman here in the Bay Area. Actually, one of my very favorite pianists comes from, the Bay Area, is Vince Guaraldi. And he's so much more than just, Charlie Brown theme. He's just an unbelievably talented musician. But artists like Dave Brubeck, Stan Getz, Paul Desmond, Cal Tjader, like all of the great bossa nova and West Coast, kind of the smooth sounding jazz. I love that stuff.
I want to give you a little moment to breathe here if you want to grab a sip to drink. I just want to let people know we got some comments here. As they're flying through the comment box, Manatee's listening from Vicky. Mary says tuning in from North Carolina. For some reason, I don't know why on my screen, I can see names and I can't see names. So if you're just a Facebook user, I apologize. I'll try to get your comment, say it out loud here. Julie says Manatees assemble. Jennifer says woot woot. Hey, Maria. Hey, Jake. Hi, William. Here's a question for you, Jake. This is from Jennifer. She says, my question is, if there is one song you absolutely cannot stand, or wish you never had to play it again. Tough one, I know.
Yeah.
There's something you're just like, man, I just cannot deal.
I try to stay real open-minded towards music. I don't get into kind of the aggro rock, so like new metal stuff. I mean, you can throw all of that right out the window. There's no time or place for it in my world. That's and no offense to anyone watching that was into new metal, but it's not me. So I guess I'm just not pissed off enough. And with my pissed off and sadness, I go, dark. I go, that's why I love Joy Division and Bauhaus, and because not everything is chipper in this life. But I'll put on like some old school industrial stuff. I mean, you can't get more heavier than. I mean, there was a time and a place where I was really into, Jesus Built My Hot Rod and jumping into the pits, and the first time I ever got a bloody nose and a black eye was this very same moment. It was in the pit for Rage Against the Machine. So, I mean, it's, but yeah.
Jennifer, I'm going to answer that question, not for Jake, but for me, because I don't do radio. So no one's going to throw pie at my face. And this might upset some people, but it's a Jane's Addiction song. I just don't want to hear ever again. And it's Jane Says.
Oh, it's Jane Says. Well, yeah.
It is. I mean, it's a great song. It's a great song. Watch, everyone starts throwing the comments. Yeah, right. I'm never watching a W thing again. No, it's still a great song, but if I never hear it again, I'm okay with that.
Okay. Yeah.
Maybe because I saw him play it like on the Ninja tour, the 9 Inch Nails Jane Addiction show, and maybe that's my memory. It was mailing it in time, and I was like, I don't ever want to hear that again.
Oh, sure. Is it his voice? I know Perry's voice can grate on people. Do you mind his voice?
Well, I don't know. There's a vibe to that performance. I was just like, they looked like they had played it a million times, and
right. And they have.
I get it.
Yeah.
And they have.
Yeah.
Julie says, my question is, were you ever? Oh wait, no, I'm sorry. Oh, Ty says, what is a song that changed your life or was instrumental in your life?
It changed my life. Yeah. There are songs that like I just kind of like remember that are very special to me. I can't say, like the bonding, you're talking about my mom again, or I'm going to talk about my mom again, like Three Little Birds by Bob Marley. Spring when I'm a kid, and she puts that on in a cassette, and we have the windows open and it's sunny out and it's fresh, and I'm like dancing on her feet with my mom, and then after a little dance session, then we clean the house. I'm spraying Pledge on shit, and we're listening to Bob Marley, stuff like that. Those are the memories that I'll always have.
Yeah.
But as far as like a song where it's like transformational, I nothing comes to my mind because I can't think of a song where like it's just like, wow, what was that? I'm gonna go fucking change the world because of this song. Nothing like that has happened to me.
What about like Head Like a Hole? I'm just thinking of like anthemic songs.
Yeah.
Head Like a Hole, or Bela Lugosi's Dead, or True Faith.
You're starting to sound like Darth Vader, unfortunately. Are you hearing those audio issues?
Oh no.
Bummer.
Is it really bad?
Does it sound normal to everyone else?
Let us know how I sound.
Yeah, you have an echo after your voice now, and it's got this kind of Darth Vader vibe, like it's really distorted. That's too bad. Hey, it's just you and I. It's just you and I. This is maybe a good time for Harry to come. Here, buddy. Look at that guy.
How's it now?
Yep, it's better.
Okay.
Yep.
It's Happy Harry time.
It's Happy Harry
Sorry
time.
about that.
No problem. Thank you for doing that. I don't know if I could have lasted much longer.
Yeah. You know, it's the curse of Jane Says.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Harry's watching, and he put a freaking voodoo on this place. Yeah.
he was a joy to watch, though. I mean, he puts it all out there, and we have more people tuning in. This is awesome. So that question was from Ty. We have Christina's here. Hey, Christina. Nice to see you here. Trista says, Mas que nada, real to real as a kid in Puerto Rico. Audio issues. Here we go. Yeah, here we go. Edmund Boy says, fuzzing out here too. Thanks, everyone, for letting me know how I sound. Thank you. I appreciate it. And we're good to go. Transmission all successful. Fight for Your Right is another one. Beastie Boys. Don't ever need to hear that song again.
Yeah, it's my least favorite Beastie Boys song. Yeah, they're an amazing band, amazing group, but that song does nothing for me.
Okay, so I want to talk about, so you're getting into the world of DJing, and 1993 is when you started?
That was my first foray into radio, in the jazz station. So I was playing music for more or less grandmas and grandpas at that time. I mean, they were the ones that were tuned in at that time. So 1993, and that was like the greatest generation. I'm trying to think of how old they would have been at that time. If they fought the war in the 40s, they were probably in their 20s. So in the 90s, so they were probably in their late 60s and early 70s at that time. And I was playing the music of their youth. So they're older than my parents, or younger than my parents are now. But I would play, for lack of a better term, or anyone outside of Benny Goodman and Glenn Miller and Tommy Dorsey, that whole scene. And what was really cool that I'll always remember about that experience is I started talking about how I witnessed my grandma Carol and grandpa Claire slow dancing to Moonlight Serenade by Glenn Miller one time. And I told that story before I played that song, and the phone rang a few minutes later, and the gentleman was like, yeah, I'm listening to you in Crookston, Minnesota, or wherever it was. And did you say Claire Caspers? And I said, yeah, I did. I said, that's my grandfather. He's like, the Claire Caspers that was a salesman for Sunshine cookies and crackers. And so, yeah, he's like, I drove and did sales with Claire Caspers for 20 years, and I lost track of them. So it was amazing. So I was able to connect those two. And he just randomly heard me mention my grandpa's name on the air, and he called in. It was so cool. Yeah.
You probably have many more stories like that.
I had a lot of grandmas baking me fresh cookies and sending them to the station. So it was good times. Yeah.
When did you know this is a career, this is something you really want to go deeper and deeper?
Well, I transferred to the University of Minnesota because I was up in Grand Forks to be a pilot. That's the second best aviation school in the nation up there at the University of North Dakota. And I wanted to be a commercial airline pilot. That's what I always wanted to be growing up. I mean, every year, probably for over 10 years, I would blow out the candles, and you're not supposed to share your wishes with people, but every year was to be a successful airline pilot and fly for United Airlines. That was the one that I did over, and it was weird. Yeah, but so I got up there and I started doing the studies, and found out you really had to be decent at numbers and aviate, things that I had no interest in at all. I was stuck on the allure of going places and jet setting and the fantasy of wearing a uniform, and that whole thing. And I was not practical about it at all. So as soon as I figured out I was in the program and it was the wrong program for me to be in, I'm like, all right, there's really no reason for me to be in Grand Forks. It is a beautiful city, and I had a great time up there, but the Twin Cities were calling me back. And so I moved back down to the Twin Cities, and I got a job at Radio K, which is the college-run station at the University of Minnesota.
Okay.
And so I was there for 3 years, 95 to 98. So a lot of great indie rock came out at that. So, that's where I'm playing Portishead and Broadcast and Pavement, and all of those bands were just starting to make their way. And then I would mix in, the new wave and the post-punk and punk rock and glam rock that I still play today in with those artists, because they were the new music. And
that's right.
It was a great, I think Radio K is still there with the University of Minnesota. I think it's one of the best radio stations in the nation. I love that station, and it's an honor to have been a part of it.
What makes it so special?
Well, it's all students on the air, which can be really kind of cute, right? Because they don't know what the hell they're playing sometimes, and they definitely they don't know how to pronounce some of the band names, and and these are artists that you and I have heard 500 times, and they're just discovering them for the first time. So that's what I mean by like cute and cool at the same time. I'm like, great, they're learning these bands and these artists, and they're playing them. So yeah.
So if there's someone watching right now, or people come up to you and say, I want to get into this business, what would you tell them?
Well, I'm not straight up in the radio business. It's always been, I host a specialty program on Minnesota Public Radios, and I've been there now for going on 12 years. So I never was a 100% full-time DJ. It's just always been a passion. Music has been a passion. So I've been lucky to be able to have that as a side. But I have been a club DJ since I've been old enough to walk into a club, and I'm almost 49. And so I've been a club DJ for 28 years. And that's how Minnesota Public Radio decided to say, hey, would you bring your brand, your night to our airwaves? Because a lot of people come out to your night, enjoy themselves. We think that our listeners would really enjoy what you can bring. And we know you've got a little bit of a radio background at Radio K, and that was 12 years ago. And so that's my radio career today on the current. And the Twitch is as close to a radio gig these days, except again, there's no FCC rules. Fuck that.
I just spoke with a DJ from Scotland. He goes by DJ Yogi Shoegazer Duncan.
Okay.
And one of the things he talked about is, as far as being a DJ, he gets so much inspiration when people come up to him while he's DJing, screaming in his ear, what are you playing? What is it that inspires you when you're out there in the club? Is it watching the people just going nuts?
Yeah, it's the energy that's created from the dance floor that keeps me going down week after week, night after night, year after year, because there's nothing quite like it. Having a radio show is great. Doing the Twitch gigs is great. You get live interaction in the chat room. But when you have a dance floor where you are creating the energy and you're seeing it build, and you put on certain songs and the place goes wild. And then all of a sudden you have a night like the ones that I host at First Avenue where there's 1,500 people rather than, 100 to 150 like a weekly gig. The big special gigs, which actually the next one will be coming up. I'll announce it here because I'm officially announcing it tomorrow morning on social media. It'll be Saturday, April 15th is the 22nd anniversary of Transmission. That'll be at First Avenue. That'll be the next big night. The last big night was New Year's Eve. But when you can have 1,000 to 1,500 people out there singing almost every word to a song, and just like a wave of it's indescribable, really. And what's great about it is that I used to be down there on that floor. I mean, that was my Sunday night dance parties, the all-age dance parties when I was a teenager. I was out there dancing. I would look up at the DJ booth and I'd be like, wow, that's amazing. That place is amazing. I mean, what's that gotta be like, And here today, I get to live out a little bit of dream of mine to be that DJ, to play those songs.
What makes a very challenging DJing night? Can you think of an event that's just like, man, that just didn't fly, that didn't work? You put all this effort into it and it just kind of fell flat.
Thankfully, I haven't had too many nights like that, to be honest. I think as Transmission has gotten more popular in the Twin Cities, it gets on more radars, and maybe not everyone knows what that brand is. So they'll come out because they've heard it's a cool, fun dance party. And then they'll come in and, they'll ask for things that aren't in the Transmission wheelhouse. And I find that happening more and more. But then, they spend a little bit of time and then they realize, oh, okay, it's more of a classic alternative dance night mixed in with indie. I mean, some people don't even know what indie rock is. That's not a world that they know about. So, or
go ahead.
Or I'm doing like Bauhaus and Joy Division and Sisters of Mercy, and then they'll come up and they'll be like, hey, can you play Madonna? And there's nothing wrong with Madonna, but that's not Transmission. So at the end of every Transmission, I do Anything Goes. So the last half an hour of every club gig I do, I just fucking throw a little bit of, it's a big mixed bag. And those are actually really fun to DJ. That's where I'll play Madonna. And I'll play Madonna right next to, I don't know, the Venga Boys. Dun, 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 dun. So, yeah. The Venga Bus is coming. Do you know that song? It's fucking horrible.
I do not. You might have to play that.
Yeah.
So these events, so this next one, April 15th, how much time will you put into the prep work?
I was about to go like this, 0, because I don't prep my sets unless it's a theme night. Then I'll prep my sets because I'm presenting a theme. Like I do every week on Twitch. Those definitely have got prep. But my dance nights, I like to have it just reading the crowd, reading the energy, and just going with the flow. So as far as prep goes for the big nights, it's all about the prep you put into promoting it, marketing it, and the design, and it's mainly marketing and prep. That's the huge prep work, is trying to get people down to the club and get it on their radars, knowing that it's happening.
Do you like that part of the business?
As I am getting older, not really. It's just part of the gig. It's just part of what you do. And I'm thankful to have done this now for almost 30 years, where I've got kind of a built-in audience where people that, you know, they're interested in the dance parties that I throw, and they want to know when these parties are happening. So I've got, I don't want to call it a captured audience because not everyone sees it, but you know, they're connected to me because they are interested in what's going on in the world of transmission, which I'm ever so grateful for.
Right, right. And I imagine on Twitch, and because you've established community, I mean, I see sometimes on the Facebook posts, people that go to these events at First Avenue. I mean, what that's building there is these small little pockets of families, you know, friends getting together.
Yeah.
To be part of that experience.
Yeah, you're right. And
That's got to be such an amazing feeling. Again, going back to the theme of bringing people together.
it is. There's nothing like, actually, I just got a reminder. I just hit close on the reminder. We've got the radio show coming on in a half an hour. Isn't it half an hour already? Yeah.
So I thought for the last 10 minutes here before we wrap this up, I did have a few more questions. And like your show, I thought we could do kind of an anything goes.
Oh,
if you're okay with that.
Yeah, I think you put me on the spot last time we played Name That Tune, didn't we?
Well, we're not going to do that this time because I try not to repeat myself.
Yeah.
That might be for conversation part 8.
Sure.
But before we get into anything goes, I want to get your take. If you don't feel comfortable sharing, totally fine. Depeche Mode. You and I did not talk about Depeche Mode before we went live here. What do you think of the new song? What do you think? Where are they going? What are your thoughts on this?
Well, I mean, interest in them hasn't waned at all. As a matter of fact, with the death of Mr. Fletcher, which still is unbelievable.
Yeah,
it sucks. I'm so glad that they are deciding to move on, and I think that it feels like half the world is as well. I've only listened to the new song probably 3 times all the way through, just because since it came out, I've been very, very busy with work and family. Just a lot going on. So I can't tell you 100%, like I can't break down the depiction of what I really feel about the song, but I like it. I like it a lot. I groove on it. And I think that I'm only going to fall more in love with it the more I listen to it, but I'm not there yet.
Is that a show that you're gonna go to?
I have not purchased tickets to a Depeche Mode. They're not coming to the Twin Cities, so which is a bummer.
Really?
Even with this new 29 date that were unleashed today, they still aren't coming to the Twin Cities. Chicago is
if they were to come to the Twin Cities, where would they play?
Oh my God. I mean, we have plenty of places. We have stadiums, we have arenas. Yeah, no one should skip the Twin Cities. I don't get it. I realize it has to do with, like, you know, logistics and all of that jazz, but
yeah,
Depeche Mode would sell out here. I would be fucking damn sure of that, as a matter of fact. So
wow, I didn't realize that. Wow, okay, very
no,
interesting. I
everyone
know.
Getting tickets from the Twin Cities has to go and see them somewhere else. It stinks.
All right, everyone, get your fingers ready. Here's what we're going to do for the last few minutes. What I'd like for you to do is think of a question for Jake. We're not going to get into all of these. We only have a few minutes, but it's kind of anything goes. Try to be mindful and respectful of the question that you're about to ask, and we'll just roll through these. How does that sound, Jake?
It does. And if I, you know, politely decline a question if it gets too, yeah.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. Facebook user says, how many tours only hit the coast and then like one Midwestern city? It's really frustrating being in Texas sometimes.
Oh, so he feels my pain, or they feel my pain. It sounds like.
Yeah, I guess so. It sounds like it. Yeah.
Okay.
All right, here we go. Oh, this is from Ty. Ty says, oldest concert t-shirt you own. Go.
Probably. Oh, well, I've got a Foghat T-shirt from the '70s, but that's not a show. That's not a show I went to. It's just a vintage T-shirt. He asked me, what's the oldest? Otherwise, the one that I went to would be Material Issues International Pop Overthrow T-shirt. That's probably 1991.
Oh my goodness. All right. Do you and your wife have a song?
Yeah, probably the first dance song that we danced to at our wedding was the Beatles' "And I Love Her." We learned
Okay.
we learned the rumba to be able to
Nice.
move to. Yeah.
Oh, this is from Shannon. Yeah, Shannon says, take Duran Duran off the table. Who is the most influential band in your life and DJing work?
Ooh. Well, band or artist? Because David Bowie even trumps Duran Duran. David Bowie is my number one. The number one influence, number one artist, number one everything. Because all of my favorite bands, David Bowie is their number one as well. I mean, because I always talk about three main artists being the Kraftwerk, Brian Ferry and Roxy Music, and David Bowie. Like those are the three main influences that really are the touchstones to so much of what I love.
Love it. Susie says, first record you bought on your own.
Oh well, yeah, it was Duran Duran's Rio. I'm super proud of that.
On cassette.
Yeah, on cassette.
Concert you skipped and regret the most.
There were, yeah. It wasn't because I skipped because I'm like, nah, no, I'll catch them another time. It was because I was working and I couldn't get out of it, type of thing. Nirvana playing First Avenue, Bjork playing First Avenue, Radiohead playing First Avenue. I was working at the record store at the time, and all of my teammates and all of my coworkers were at fucking First Avenue. So I was left at the record store.
What's a genre of music you cannot live without?
Bossa Nova.
This is from Laura. Liv comes to you and says she wants to become a DJ. What advice do you give her?
Don't do it, baby.
Jake, do you play an instrument?
I learned to play the drums back in high school. I was in a garage band in high school. We won a talent contest. Speaking of Nirvana, we won first place in Smells Like Teen Spirit. But I sold those drums and I no longer play, and nor was I ever that good.
We have 2 more minutes. Do you ever have DJing anxiety dreams?
Oh yes. Yeah,
Okay.
like just basically everything going blank, like the music stopping on a dance floor. I mean, and that has happened where there's technical errors, or like the track is glitched. And what's great about it at this point in my career, most people they're coming down to my nights because they know me, and so they'll, rather than like going out to a professional DJ, they know I'm like more of a laid back kind of fun guy. So I'll get on the microphone and go, "What the fuck was that?" And people will like laugh and they'll just have a good time with it. And they'll relate to it like, "Oh man, that sucks," and so they're not like, "This sucks. You suck as a DJ." So.
Christina says, by the way, super mod of all mods. Carrie says hello to all. Got to put
we got the moderators in the house.
That's right. I'm going to give you the last word here. Anything else you want to share? We mentioned the April 15th event. Anything else you want to share with our participants here?
It sounds like there's so here, we'll bring Harry up for this. Come here, buddy. Come on.
Okay.
Oh. So not only me, but Harry and I just want to thank everyone, because there's a lot of manatees, it sounds like, that are watching. We want to just thank at how great you are and how amazing of community that you helped build. And you too. Harry would love to thank you for all the treats that, because of you, he has been able to. Here they are, and here. There we go.
Look at that.
You like
in shape.
Mm-hmm. So anyway, but in all seriousness, I can't thank the manatees and the people that support the transmission world through Twitch and through live gigs and through the radio. But mainly I would imagine a lot of Twitch folks are tuned in. It's been a dream, and the dream continues. It's you let me be myself on Twitch each and every week, and there is no pressure, and it's fun and it's organic, and I am so thrilled that you are all along for the ride.
I think you nailed it right there. I want to close on that. Being yourself is it's such a cliched statement, but it's so true. Because that's where we thrive, right? That when we're not shackled, when we're not governed in a way that just tells us how to think. And anyways, I'm getting off on a tangent, but I'm glad you feel that way.
It's true. It's true. That's like what you were saying before we went on air. How much do you love your profession? You get to be, yourself, because you generally are interested in it and you love helping people. Obviously, you're a teacher, and it's amazing. I love that you do this on the side too. I love that you have an outlet for your music love. I love that. It's needed. It's needed in life.
Tomorrow night, I'm going to see your homeboy, Tim Burgess.
Ah, yeah. Here, hang on one second.
They're going to be in San Francisco. Oh, here it is. They're going to be in San Francisco at the legendary Fillmore.
The legendary Fillmore. What's great is that I am wearing my pajama bottoms, but I put on a dress shirt for the interview, and I just gave it away as I ran and got. So this is his sweatshirt that he had on in the Minneapolis show. One of my friends who caught it brought it down for me at my club night last night. I'm like, what am I supposed to do with this? Maybe I can grow. Maybe I can grow baby Tim Burgess's, do some weird science project. It's a pretty sweet.
That interview.
How
was that interview with him?
Oh yeah. I did the interview with Tim at the record store at the Electric Fetus. It was really great. Really nice guy, and he's 55 and he looks like he's 30. I have no idea. And he doesn't do there's no work done. It's natural. I don't know what's going on there, but he looks so young. It's unbelievable.
Fountain of youth.
Yeah. Big time.
That's what you get for changing the world, Jake.
Well, he's something else, and he's such a natural performer. And I know that you're a massive Ride fan. Ride are gonna blow you away. They sound so good live.
Yeah.
I'm
looking forward to it.
As do the Charlatans. It's just I'm a bit more of a shoegaze guy, So yeah.
Who opened for who?
Right, because they switch every show, don't they?
Oh, they switch. Okay. Yeah.
Ride opened for the Charlatans for Minneapolis.
Jake Rudh, thank you.
Yeah,
this has been great.
Thank you for reaching out. It was a quick hour. Yeah, this went really quick, and thanks again to everyone who tuned in. I have no idea who. I don't have any access to who's tuned in. But
So yeah, I don't know, but you can go back into this conversation on the Facebook page, and you can see
oh,
who is
cool.
there and do whatever on all your free time.
Yeah.
Thanks again, Jake, and best of you on the Twitch transmission, all the live events. Awesome. Keep spreading the joy of music and bringing people together. It's really made a difference, and I know I'm not the only one who says that. So cheers to you, my friend.
Let's do 2 more plugs because that's my life. Why don't we all join each other in tuning into The Current in 15 minutes, because my radio show goes on the air at thecurrent.org, and that's going to be Transmission, the radio program. And then this coming Saturday, it's my, I don't want to say my annual Yacht Rock gig. It's my midwinter. It's not even midwinter anymore. It's my winter break. It's like winter sucks. We're over it. Let's escape into 70s and early 80s soft rock for 5 hours. That's happening this Saturday.
This Saturday. Got it. Yeah. All right. So in 15 minutes, and then this Saturday.
You got it. Yeah. Thanks for letting me put those.
All right, everyone. Let's go to the next party.
Yeah. Right on. Good night. Thanks, you, William. Thanks for everything you do too as well, man.
You got it, my friend. We'll talk soon. Take care.
Right. Bye-bye.
Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.